Well, here we are again. Welcome, welcome, YouTube family and Facebook family. And I welcome back Dr. Guadalupe Vanderhorst Rodriguez. Welcome, my sister. How are you tonight?
Welcome. Very well, thank you. How are you?
Great. Thank you for joining me again tonight. We have some important things to talk about as grandmas tonight, right?
We definitely do.
So, but before we start our show, as usual, we are going to do some drumming to invite our. I have to let people know that we don't have Blog Talk tonight. So, good evening, Mama AZ. We're Blog Talk is down tonight, and Dr. Guadalupe and I are live on YouTube tonight or Facebook, whichever you prefer. Okay, have fun. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, send me that.
Okay. So we are excited tonight to continue our discussion about the village and raising conscious children with the knowledge that Dr. Guadalupe has gained and her experience as a acupuncture physician, Chinese medicine, and she's going to tell us all about that. Now, I realize, Dr. Guadalupe, I don't have access to my regular music that I play because it's on Blog Talk Studio.
Okay.
So I'm going to go into my iTunes. And yeah, we're ready. We're live. I'm going to go into my iTunes and see if I can find. Actually, I can actually go on YouTube and find her because she's on YouTube. I think her name is Becca Shea, and she might be in my YouTube. Actually, let me see. We're making some adjustments tonight because usually we have Blog Talk Radio there to guide us and help us, but they're not here. So I'm going to actually just go to YouTube and pull up. I'm going to pull up her song and see if we can groove on Becca Shea's music. Heartbeat. It's called Heartbeat. And it is a beautiful, and it'll be really kind of nice for you to see the video. And let me just say this, right? Let me just say, I do not own the rights to this music. This music is being played for entertainment and educational purposes only. And she actually has given me permission to play this, but I have been playing this music for years now, and you're going to get to see the video that goes along with it. But tonight, my sister, Dr. Guadalupe, and I are going to drum together to this music. So you get to drum with us. Let's see. Yeah. We're going to drum to the music. All right. So I'm going to play, and Dr. Guadalupe, just come in whenever you feel moved.
And has let us ransom people for God. From every tribe and language, people, every nation. We're warriors from There's a resurrection coming. It's your time to rise and shine. Wake up, you sleeping giant. The wounds of injustice are being healed by the people. Yahweh is bringing us power through unity. Well, falling, there's a resurrection coming. Troubles come alive. Yeah, wake up, you sleeping giant. Your heartbeat, I feel it. Yeah, I feel your heartbeat. I feel it. Yeah, I feel your heartbeat. I feel it. I feel your heartbeat. I feel it. I feel it. Yeah, I feel it. Yeshua, bring us together. Bring us together. We cry. Yeshua, bring us together. Bring us together. Together we cry. Yeshua, bring us together. Bring us together. We cry out for your heartbeat, oh, your heartbeat. This is the hour to know whose side to stand by. Raise up a standard in battle for every fellow tribe. Warriors are fighting, there's a revival igniting. Search for such a time. Yeah, arise, you blazing fire. Brave, stand firm and listen to your destiny. The rhythm of our Father moves with victory. Where warriors are fighting, there's a revival igniting. So, my soul, God, and arise, blazing fire. Your heartbeat, I feel it. Yeah, I feel your heartbeat, I feel it. Yeah, I feel your heartbeat, I feel it. I feel your heartbeat, I feel it. I feel it, yeah, I feel it. Yeshua, bring us together, bring us together. We cry, Yeshua, bring us together, bring us together. Together we cry, Yeshua, bring us together, bring us together. We cry out for your heartbeat, oh, your heartbeat. Yeshua, bring us together, bring us together. We cry, Yeshua, bring us together, bring us together. Together we cry, Yeshua, bring us together, bring us together. We cry out for your heartbeat, oh, your heartbeat. Yeshua, bring us together, bring us together. We cry, Yeshua, bring us together, bring us together. Together we cry, Yeshua, bring us together, bring us together. We cry out for your heartbeat, oh, your heartbeat.
All right, thank you. That's Becca Shea. For those of you who've never even seen that, oh, that's we give thanks and praise to the Most High for Becca Shea and for that beautiful music. And we invite our ancestors in now to bring truth, to bring love, to bring understanding, to bring inner standing, and to bring overstanding for the spirit of love and to spirit of truth. We ask the spirit of truth to come in tonight and guide us and help us all live a better life in Yeshua. Yeshua is the Hebrew word for Jesus, and we ask that spirit of truth to always be with us. And the Messiah is a word that means anointing. May all of us be anointed with the spirit of truth tonight. Spirit of love come out of our mouths. Spirit of wisdom coming out of our hearts tonight. I hope. All right. We have with us Dr. Guadalupe Vanderhorst Rodriguez. Did I say all that right?
Yes, you did.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Where did you get all those names from?
Oh, I have more. I have two more.
Really?
Yes, I do. I have 2 more, and it all fits on my driver's license and everything, all my documents.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, thank you again, Dr. Guadalupe, for joining me tonight. I knew when I first spoke to you a few days back that you and I were sisters of a sort, and that we had so much in common that we should come together and share our knowledge, wisdom, and our experience, not just as women on this planet, but as mothers and as grandmothers. And tonight we want to dive into relationships, especially with our children and our grandchildren, because as we talked about, there's a lot of stuff going on, evil in the land with our children, the grandchildren. And
Exactly.
we as grandmothers have to be the protectors and lead. We have to lead the flock to water. I was
Exactly.
watching a Netflix video with my grandchildren over the last week. It's like 5 episodes. And it's all about nature and the planets, snow and ice, and how there's a web of connection between all of the planets, the plants and animals on Earth. And there was one scene with the monkeys where they couldn't find water. I think it was monkeys or some animal. And they mentioned that it was the grandmother's role to lead them to water. I thought, oh, that's so cute. That's so beautiful. Because the whole family was in a desert-like experience. And they were telling the story, and the narration is amazing on this documentary. It just really helps you see the planet in this web of connection.
Mhm.
They talk about, and the fact they use the word grandmother in more than just one instance describing animals. So here we are, two grandmothers to lead the masses to water. We might think of it, that's what we're doing tonight, creating a village that has water, fresh water to drink, and that has fresh air and truth and good food. We're going to nourish the masses tonight with truth of our own experience. And then if you're in the YouTube studio or Facebook Live, feel free to comment. And if you want to talk, make a comment, you can call our on-air network with our Female Solution executive producer, 727-731-5192. And it's scrolling across the screen if you forget that. We're not going to be able to call into the 215 number because they blog talk all the way down. And so we're using Facebook, YouTube, and the on-air network tonight. So let's start tonight, Dr. Guadalupe, if you don't mind. For those people who were not on the Friday show, when we did an amazing and wonderful exploration and information about the art of acupuncture, which Dr. Guadalupe has studied. And tonight we're going to let her share with this audience a little bit about her background, her family, whatever you feel led to do. We want you to let people know who you are and what you're all about.
My name is, well, first of all, good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be here tonight. My name is Dr. Guadalupe Vanderhorst Rodriguez. I'm a licensed acupuncturist in New York State, and I am dedicated to really holistic services of treating the whole body, not just inserting the needles into a person. And I don't use a one size fits all. I feel that I'm more of a guide with my patients as opposed to they come for their 45 minutes and once they leave, the session is over. With my patients, I'm with them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they can contact me at any time. I'm a mother of 3 young adults. No, well, wait a minute. They're in their 40s, so they're moving towards middle age.
Isn't that something? We are getting younger, though.
And I'm a grandmother of 6. My oldest is 25 and my youngest is 11.
Your
And I have my
range from
grandchildren.
5 to 11.
Right.
Okay, 6. Okay. That's awesome. Pretty awesome. So now are you currently married? I don't remember.
No, I'm divorced, but my second husband, he still tracks me down.
Okay. The love
He
has
wouldn't-
not ended.
Yeah, he's still, he's still like a buzzard flying over, and I'm like, what do you want? I'm living my life.
So that makes 2 of us. I'm divorced, and in fact, my ex was here today. He visits the grandchildren every 2 weeks, and we are the best of friends. I'm so grateful that after almost 40 years of marriage, our divorce was peaceful, and he bought a house, I bought a tiny house, and then I'm in my oldest son's backyard. My youngest son lives with him, but we're friends now, and that's the desire of my life, is to have my ex-husband as a friend. Yeah. So he likes to talk on and on and on, and it's like enough. But
Wow.
I'm enjoying that relationship with him as sharing grandparent duty. So
Well, my first husband is the grandfather. We're the grandparents of the grandchildren. And then my second husband, we don't have children together.
okay. So in our relationships, would you say your relationship, let's start with our parents. Your relationship with your parents, was that healthy or not? How would you describe your relationship with your parents?
Well, my father died when I was 4, but
Okay.
even though, I had a short time with him, he really left a major impact into my life, and I still follow that to this day. And my mother, even though he passed away, she continued like raising us as if he were already there. So it was pretty, even though he died, it didn't feel like we were missing a parent, And I was
So
telling someone that there's someone I listened to on TV, and he says the mothers turn their children against their fathers, and my mother didn't do that. My mother continued as she knew how he wanted us to be raised, and she followed through with that.
and that goes to show you that your mother's influence was positive because she had that mind. It sounds like she was a conscious mother. Did you have any alcoholism in your family at all?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so my mother was an alcoholic most of my young life. And that was a major adjustment I had to make in my adult life to overcome the lack of nurturing from my mother, because when you're married to your alcohol, you don't know how to really nurture your children. So what was the alcoholic situation in your life?
Actually, it was my mother.
Oh, okay.
And well, what happened was the death of my father. I mean, it was really traumatic. My father was killed. So for my mother, I mean, she worked overnight, and I could remember. Well, they say when you're always an alcoholic, but I remember it was the last 2 years of her life that she became an alcoholic.
Really?
Yeah, I remember that very clearly because I remember seeing the progression. So she was there. She worked in Wall Street. She used to work at night. She'd get home, get us ready for school, go to the conferences whenever there was a problem, with school. She always had a job. She was always working. She did work. So yeah, it was the last 2 years. And I think what happened to her was that I know she had a boyfriend who was her childhood sweetheart, and she dated him for 4 years, and they broke up. And it was when they broke up, that's when she started drinking.
And how old were you?
12.
Oh, okay. And so your mom died when you were 14?
Yes.
And how many siblings did you have?
5. There was
Okay.
6 girls.
6 girls. So what happened to your who were your guardians after your mother passed?
My mother's parents.
Okay, so you were raised by your grandparents in your
Right.
teen years.
Well, after my father died, my grandparents and my mother, we all lived together. So when my mother had died, we were already set with our grandparents.
Okay, so we are establishing here as 2 grandparents today what our relationships were like with the most important people in our lives in the early years of our lives. And so you're sharing that your grandparents played a major role in raising you then. So
Yes.
what was that like? My grandparents, I didn't know my father's parents at all, but my grandparents we saw a lot of in the summer. So what was your relationship like with your grandparents?
We had truly an extended, when you talk about a village, we actually lived in a village because it was our aunts, our cousins, everybody band together. When my father died, everyone in the family came in. My family from New Jersey, my grandparents' siblings, they were in the Bronx, and everyone came in and took care of us. So it wasn't just my grandparents, it was everyone.
Wow, so awesome. So awesome. So you're speaking tonight from a lot of experience in relationships in the village. And that is exactly what we need to help our listeners develop and create, because of all the trafficking and weird things going on in every state, I would say, with the evil spirits who are trying to take our children.
Mm-hmm.
And so let me read, I want to read at this point this verse from the Bible, as I had mentioned earlier. And I want all of our listeners, in fact, we've got quite a few comments here that let me just read the comments, and then I want to read a scripture from that I thought about what we're seeing happening today and how we as grandparents can give some positive solutions and influence to the situations that are happening even in our own families. So first we have Empress Regina is in the house. We bow to the queen, the royalty, great being, beloveds. Thank you, Empress Regina, for joining us. And then Craig Van is here. Good evening, Sister V, and a shout out to the guest speaker. Craig is the person who actually referred Dr. Guadalupe to me. So thank you, Craig, for joining us. And then Tala Farrell MacArthur says, praise God and good evening. Thanks again for the update. Looking forward to hearing you and Sister Guadalupe bring truth, especially to child family molestation. May the Holy Spirit flow. Hallelujah. Yes. And then Talifer says, God bless you. And our sister Zelda Robinson, our Monday morning mindfulness host, is here. And she says, grand evening, wonderful and wise women. No, this is going to be a lesson in humanity. We can feel it. I can feel it too. I really could this evening when Blog Talk, I just couldn't get on Blog Talk. So there was just a minute of frustration, and I'm like, wasn't meant to be. Move on. We got Facebook and YouTube. We'll keep going here because the message will get out tonight, what's needed, right? So thank all of you for joining us tonight, and we welcome your comments. And if you'd like to call in, again, you cannot call in to the 215 Blog Talk number, but you can call into the on-air network number, which is 727-731, what is that, 5192. And Naima Latif, I don't know how we're going to do that, though. Since I'm on Blog Talk, I'm not on Blog Talk, Naima will have to communicate with me through YouTube and Facebook. We won't be able to do Blog Talk on the other number. But I want to bring in this scripture as we prepare to bring the solution to the evil among us, whether it's the bombing and the genocide that we hear about every day. And I'm especially empathic about that. I feel like my brothers and sisters are in Palestine. I've been to Israel. I've been in that land. And even when I landed in Israel for the first time, I felt like I was home for some reason. So it must have been a feeling of a past life when I landed in Israel years ago. And so now we're seeing visual genocide take place. And I've had to shake that off and just realize there is a lot of karmic energy going on in that area. And there's just a lot of spiritual warfare going on. But let me read from Ephesians chapter 6. If you have scripture, I'm going to read Ephesians chapter 6 says, "Put on the whole armor of the Creator, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil." And we wrestle not against the flesh and blood. That is man. We wrestle not with these human bodies, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this wickedness, of this world, of this the third dimension, against spiritual wickedness, fourth, fifth dimension in high places. So you and I were talking about the witnessing that we have seen with child trafficking, for instance, and the suspicion that I had. I traveled to Montana about 5 years ago, maybe more, to the Crow Nation reservation. I stayed with Peggy Well-Known Buffalo for 5 days. During that period, I was introduced to the whisperings of child trafficking, because Peggy Well-Known Buffalo runs a very big place in that area on Crow Nation. And she told me about people calling her and saying, well, child services took their foster care, took their children, but they can't find their children now. This is while I was just the 5 days I was in. So Peggy was sharing with me how there's something going on, she said, with the Indian governing board there, child services, children are disappearing. Her adopted son was taken away to prison. But there was so much going on in those 5 days. I was like, whoa, I thought the reservation was just a, place where we do powwows and drumming and all. But although it seemed in 5 days, the wickedness of the reservation came in my face. So that was the first, I think, introduction to me of the reality of the evil and the wickedness in high places that is everywhere. So you were saying, with having 6 grandchildren, you've had your own experiences. So why don't you share what experiences you've had that have challenged you emotionally, even with your own grandchildren?
Well, my grandchildren, I had 3 grandchildren that were, one was in Kaneohe, which is the Mohawk Reservation near Quebec. I did go to court to fight for him, and the judge told me that it wasn't my place to be there to fight for my grandson. So he stayed in their system, which in Kaneohe, in the Mohawk language, they would be called hongways. Hongways are pretty much people who are sellouts. Okay, so and even the people in Kaneohe are fighting against the social services in Kaneohe, which is, outside of Quebec. My other grandchildren, which is Carmen Little Eagle, they are in Akwesasne, which is the Mohawk Reservation on the New York State side. I traveled from New York City to Akwesasne for 6 months, every weekend, driving my daughter up to go visit her kids. And she could not get custody of her kids at all. And finally, their father told me, he said he would never relinquish his rights to his children. And another lady who worked for the social services up there, she explained to me how they tracked him down to sign over his rights. So my grandkids ended up, and actually they're my two youngest ones, ended up with the people who adopted them from birth. They've been living with them since birth, and now they adopted them, as well as changing their names. And they changed their names way before they were even adopted. And I was sitting in the court for all of this. And they talk about laws being on the books. I was never contacted as the next of relative for any of my grandkids. And you're talking about ICWA, Indian Child Welfare Act. They are not supportive. They talk about the little moccasins, the children of residential schools for the last 500 years. For me, I just spoke with a Haudenosaunee a few days ago, and I told him, I said, I don't want to hear anything about the residential schools of the children 500 years ago when you still have this going on today. What about the kids today? They have every child matters.
So we understand that something's going on.
Yes.
And we kind of, you feel powerless in many ways.
No, I don't feel powerless.
Thank you.
I don't, that to me, that's giving up. I have a hard time giving up. I will never give up. I don't give up I didn't give up my own children. I won't give up my grandchildren. Now, my oldest grandson, well, not my oldest grandson, my grandson who was on the Canadian side, he's now 19 years old, and he calls me up every day. And when he was in his group home, he used to call me all the time. And then they forbid him to call me. And then I contacted Kanewage, and I said, I was speaking to my grandson. How come I can't talk to him? And he said, well, the court said that he's forbidden to talk to you. And I said, for what reason? I said, I was never served any papers telling me I couldn't talk to my grandson, but it's a breakup of the family. This is a breakup of the family. So when you're talking about indigenous families, 7th generations, I know in the Haudenosaunee, they talk about 7 generations. And I bring this up, how are you preparing for the 7th generation? These kids that are taken away from their families, how are they preparing for the 7th generation?
That's a good question. Yeah. I know with Peggy Well-Known Buffalo, she tells how she was taken, and she must be in her 70s, maybe close to 80 by now. But as a child, they were removed from the reservation and put in boarding schools. They discouraged them speaking their own language, and they were brainwashed, like just about every child in America, brainwashed to learn the European ways of existing, and really neglected their own spiritual teachings. But now Peggy is teaching her language, the Crow Nation language. Do you have a language that you were taught growing up?
No,
you didn't have. So you were raised in an English speaking
exactly
family. What about your relatives? Did you ever hear your grandparents speaking any other
language? My grandmother did, but she never passed it on.
Yeah. So do you feel like you've lost anything, or
no,
because of that you were content to just
I don't feel that I lost anything, because I believe that within our spirit, it's all in our DNA. It's a matter of us connecting with it. So we really haven't lost anything. It's just a matter of us going within and seeking it out. It's within. It's already stored in our DNA. So we really haven't lost anything. I took speech pathology many years ago, and it said that your native language is stored in your DNA. So once you hear the language, you know it. You immediately know it because it's stored in your DNA. It's already there. So I don't feel I lost anything. No.
So so when we look at what our children are learning these days, from rap music to whatever technology, tablets and all that, what do you think our role is in helping them get back into their spiritual strength, their armor, if you will, to resist the evil and the principalities? What do you think our job especially is to help them resist, and how do we protect them from the negative influences?
Well, I think it all begins with when they're a baby. Teaching them just as soon as they're born. When my children were born, I never put anything past them that they didn't understand anything. Okay, and that's where the teaching begins. That's everything begins when they're a baby, and continuously guiding them and nourishing them through whatever they're going through. And they do become influenced by outside society, because when my children were going to get their names, for their naming ceremony, and I had to take them out of school, and my oldest daughter didn't want to go. And they had to miss school every single week, because you never knew when that day was going to be for their naming ceremony. So my oldest daughter, she resisted. She did not want to go. She did not want to get her name. She didn't care. And she did all of them. They did receive their names, and they went to the ceremony. And like I said, now they're in their 40s. So now she's boasting with everybody about what her indigenous name is.
So is that a tradition that's been going on for several generations? Okay, so that's one tradition that was kept. And how does the name come about?
They well, it's given in the longhouse. The clan mothers for each clan has to pray about the name that's given for the child. And it takes months before, like, it's a spiritual journey, if you will, that she will come up with the name for the child. And then it's during the winter ceremony that they're given their names. And so each chief, like, the women have to enter in specific doors. Women sit on one side, the men sit on the other side, and then the children are called up by the chief of that specific clan. So my children are in the Turtle clan, so they were given their names by the Turtle clan mother, and the Turtle chief was the one who gave them their names.
That's so interesting. I was just thinking about a post someone sent out that the turtle, unlike what most of us may think, is part of the shell. Some of us, when we see that neck come out or that head come out, we think, oh, this whole body's going to come out and leave the shell behind. But I'm learning that no, the whole shell is part of the turtle. The hardness of it is connected to that neck that comes out. So that says a lot about your family going into this turtle energy. Have you ever thought about what that turtle energy means, or do they teach?
Well, the creation story revolves around the turtle. The whole earth is the turtle island. The world that we live on is a turtle island. Well, and then you have the creation story. I never thought about the for each clan, the bear, the wolf, and the turtle. I never thought about how they all came into being.
Okay, so in my Animal Speaks books, the tortoise is a sign to move through pressure. And the pressures are easing and movement is slow but steady. Things will happen in the time and manner best for you. Focus on essentials. So I think that's important for us today. And that's a wait a minute. Now that's a tortoise, but then there's a turtle wisdom that says it means promise. Take your time in your pursuits. Trust in Mother Earth. You will have what you need. Does that ring? And then there's a snapping turtle. So I guess, and then there's a sea turtle. This just goes on and on. Then there's a painted turtle. So interesting, the symbolism around the turtle. That box, then there's a box turtle that speaks of patience. Do not rush. You will move through pressures. Let events take their own course. Be patient. Do not rush or force. How about that one? Has that been, I think, we all can relate to the turtle.
Exactly.
But especially for you to have that history of a turtle. When did you first learn about that part of your history or your genetics?
A long time ago.
As a child?
Oh yeah, a long time ago.
Here we are on Turtle Island, and you are bringing forth the turtle energy. So
well, the story that I'm sharing right now with my grandson is because he keeps talking about being angry. And he calls me almost every single day, you know, and then he keeps talking about the same thing. So I gave him the story about, you know, which wolf the grandfather's talking to his grandson, and which wolf do you feed? Okay, which wolf are you feeding? So I sent him that story, and I said, just keep reading the story over and over, go over and think about when you get angry, which one are you feeding? But I also told him that anger is a normal emotion. When someone's telling you, like he tells me, oh, my doctor told me I shouldn't be angry. I said, well, you need to ask your doctor, does he ever get angry? And he's going to tell you, yeah. So he can't tell you not to get angry because everybody gets angry. But it's what you do with the anger. It's what you do with the anger. So that's pretty much for my grandson. That's how I'm counseling him, if you will, or guiding him.
And why do you think he's angry? What's the root? Do you have the root of that?
Well,
he's not in prison, is he?
No, he's not in prison. He's angry because his parents weren't there for him. Okay. And that's what I talked to him about too, is that, you know, I explained to him, you know, you're angry because, you know, your parents weren't there, but you have to understand, you have to tell, he's angry right now with his father. And, you know, he tells me, I'm angry with my dad because, you know, he drinks all the time, you know. And he said his father starts crying. I said, well, his father starts crying because he feels bad. He feels bad because he wasn't there for you. And so this is something that you have to look at. You can't change his feelings, but you can just say, hey, Dad, I understand. I understand how you feel. That's, you know, don't try to say, oh, it's okay. Just say that you understand, you know, and leave it at that.
And we have a lot of children who are angry. I think when my grandchildren realized that their mother and dad were not going to be living together, divorce, which happens, they were angry. They showed it in subtle ways. My grandson would, you know, want to be rebellious. And many times they didn't want to do what dad said. And so anger is natural, like you said, but that as grandparents, I think that's our role to help them process the anger. Exactly. And you're right, it's natural. Anger, resentment, unforgiveness. At some point, we want to feel all these emotions. We want to feel them, and then we don't have to, but we can be ready to help them process it and share how it's a natural emotion. And then our role, I think, is to show them more love because of that experience they're having and more patience. If we don't show it as grandparents, then it's just going to continue. Anger will
Exactly.
continue. So it doesn't it does do you feel sometimes that our role is even more important, that the burden is on us in some ways to shift that energy between the grandparents and I mean between the grandchildren and their parents? How do we do that? It's more love. Just as the he time for healing, and then the Becca Shea song Unity, love is the answer. And then it's for me, it's been a matter of defining what love is. Do you let your grandchildren get away with things and not discipline them? Well, some people, well, there's no such thing as discipline. Listening. How about listening to them and letting them get it all out? Do you
Exactly.
find do you find yourself becoming a better listener as a grandparent?
I've always been a good listener, even for my own kids. You know, um, I think that as a parent, we're not we can be friends with our kids, but we also have to guide them, you know, to becoming healthy, functioning adults. And we're also battling against outside forces, if you will, influences. So we have to balance between when they come to us and say certain things, we have to just sit and listen and then process it. How do we want to respond so that they will hear us? That goes for the children and the grandchildren.
Exactly. So we're going to take a break here. I'm a little past it. We're going to take a break, and I wonder if you have any particular prayers that you have used over the years for your children, for your grandchildren, that you've shared with them. And then we want to kind of translate again this Ephesians admonition about wrestling with spiritual and principalities. And I think prayer is part of the answer, the solution, as well as affirmations. So we want to talk more about the solutions that you and I have as grandparents, but especially as spiritual beings who have been on a journey, and all the things we have learned that are going on in the fourth dimension, not just this dimension that we see,
Exactly.
trafficking and the anger and all that, but what is going on in the other dimension, and how we as grandparents can really deal with that and eliminate the threats that are out there. So let's take a break. And if you in the studio, we don't have Blog Talk Radio tonight, so we're going to have to trust that if you have a question or comment, you'll type it in, and we'll read the comments. And let's see, share screen, and then we'll discuss them and with your responses and our comments. So we'll be right back after this message.
Have you ever wondered why some of the healthiest people still get sick? Or why the occurrence of learning disabilities like ADHD have drastically increased over the last 50 years? How is it that the cancer rate has gone from 1 in 8,000 back in the 1910s to 1 in 2 today? Isn't it odd that even though we are more focused on health than ever before, that there's still been an increase in diseases, disorders, illnesses, and other conditions that destroy your quality of life? What if we told you that the very things you're using in your home to avoid these health concerns are actually what's causing them? If you're the decision maker in your home, you know how overwhelming it can be to keep your family safe. Today, I'd like to welcome you and simply provide you with some important information and shed some light on some health concerns you may not be aware of. Over the last 100 years, thousands of toxic chemicals have been introduced into society because of an excessive overstock of chemicals designed for warfare in the Second World War. Today, as the 2013 documentary The Human Experiment states, quote, 42 billion pounds of toxic chemicals enter into commerce every day. That amount would 623,000 tanker trucks. And as we speak, there are over 80,000 such chemicals on the market in the US. Over the last half century, chemical usage has gone up by 2,000%. And it isn't until there are enough people hurt by these products that there are even questions raised. Does this sound familiar? On July 12, 2018, the well-known grocery brand of talcum and baby powder company, Johnson & Johnson, was ordered to pay a $4.6 billion lawsuit. As it was said, they knowingly covered up asbestos in their product for over 40 years, and we have been trustingly using it on ourselves and our most precious of all things, our newborn babies. As parents, we work hard to keep our families safe and healthy. We diligently try to choose the best brands at the grocery store for our families. After all, keeping a clean home is an important part of good health. But is it possible that cleaning your home is dangerous? 7.3 million American couples have trouble conceiving or carrying a pregnancy to term. This is a 49% increase since 1988. Recent studies have shown that babies that do make it to term are being born pre-polluted, with up to 28 harmful chemicals in their blood, with indicators that over 400 more were present, all without ever eating food, drinking water, or even breathing air yet. It just doesn't make any sense. Studies showed that in 1999, 1 in 500 kids had autism. Today, it's 1 in 59. But the effects don't stop there. As of 2013, the increases over the last 45 years show that life-threatening birth defects has increased 100%. Genital deformities in baby boys has increased 122%. Asthma has increased 80%. Leukemia in children has increased 74%. And ADHD has increased 53%. A 20-year independent study was done by the University of Bergen in Norway. This study started closely tracking a population of 6,235 women and men. They tracked the typical use of home cleaners and how they affect lung tissue of those who use them over a long period of time. Over the course of the study, the participants answered questions about their usage of cleaning products and had their lung capacity tested regularly. In May 2018, the study was published in the American Journal of Respiratory and Critical Care Medicine, which generated global media attention because their findings from this study clearly showed that significant damage had been done to lung tissue, and that by using national brand cleaners, even only once a week, had the same effect as smoking a pack of cigarettes a day for 20 years. Even if we're only using these products once a week, we are exposing ourselves, our children, and even our pets to something that is considered more dangerous than secondhand smoke. Ask yourself, would you knowingly hand your child a pack of cigarettes?
So that that video, which is a commercial for Melaleuca.com, a company that I'm partnered with, it speaks of the toxics in our environment. And tonight we can kind of relate to not just the toxics outside, but inside. And one of the things I have practiced is yoga, bringing union between the inner cosmos of our body, the microbiome, and all that, to the outer cosmos, the universal influences that we are thinking about every day. The universe, the cosmic, the sun, the rain, the winds, the storms. And then with our children, they don't think about some of these things. So I think it's part of our job, Dr. Guadalupe, to educate them on how they're poisoning their bodies and their minds. And lately, there's just so much influence on these tablets and technology and computers. So how do your children or your grandchildren, how are they influenced, would you say, by the technology and the music, especially some of the things that maybe we can have influence in those areas, but maybe not. What do you think?
I think the children don't know, and so when they're with their peers, they're influenced by their peers. I usually tell, because I talk to my grandson all the time, I tell him, listen, we were your age at one time, and we thought we knew everything too. Okay, so we've been there. Okay, so while you think you know everything, we've done that. We have been where you have yet to go. Those are my exact words.
And we're like, wow, 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 wow.
And wow, he listens. He listens. Actually, my grandkids listen. They listen to me. It takes a while before before it clicks, but you just have to keep repeating it, and it does, it does get through. And it's really being supportive of them.
So what about the prayers? Have you had prayers from your ancestors handed over? Or what has been I know you said you were raised Episcopalian, did you say? What were some of the tools that your religious upbringing gave you?
Well, the what I explained before to you was that prayer gives you the foundation. So it doesn't matter what kind of prayer you're saying, it gives you the foundation. When it comes to praying, I use an eclectic approach. It depends on, I always tell people, do you call the president of the United States to come fix your toilet? No. So, so you have to use a specific prayer for what it is that you're seeking. With my grandson, I gave him the Thanksgiving prayer, the Mohawk Thanksgiving prayer, and I told him to recite that. That's something, it is long, but it's a prayer. My granddaughter, I gave her a Hindu prayer that she recited, and I also gave her, oh my goodness, Hail Mary. I gave her the Hail Mary to say that one. And it was so funny because when she got into a pickle in Florida, she started doing the Hail Mary. And she said, Grandma, it didn't work.
It didn't work?
It didn't work.
Okay.
And I said, buddy, it did work because you got back here safe.
Really? I mean, prayer is always answered, not necessarily the way we want it or expect.
Exactly. So prayer varies. But for me, it's important for them to have some type of prayer so that they have something. It's better to have something than nothing.
Okay, so this Ephesians talks about we wrestle not against flesh and blood. So if we're wrestling against principalities, power, against rulers of the darkness, is prayer effective in bringing down the strongholds and the darkness and the evil, do you think? Is prayer the way to do that, to bring down the strongholds and the
Well,
evil?
for me, it is. I mean, I have my own personal testimony. I was going to join this religious group, and I had been studying with them. It was an Eastern group, and I had been studying them for like 2 years, buying the books, doing the reciting, doing the whole thing. And finally, I parked in the car, and I said, should I join this group? And I will never forget it. What happened was it literally showed me side by side the parallel with this group and a Christian group. And it was everything that was the same. So I called the lady up and I said, I can't join. And she said, why not? I said, because I prayed about it and I was shown that I shouldn't join. And she said, but why not? This is one of the most best, religious, So I just said, I can't do it. I can't do it because it was shown to me not to do it. So I can't do it. So I didn't do it. So prayer is very effective.
Okay, so we have to define prayer tonight. And I agree with you. Prayer is very effective. especially when we're looking at a fourth dimensional transition that we're in, where we don't see everything. And it says principalities and rulers in darkness and all that. So we're not going to see we can see easily the genocide going on in Israel, in Gaza, even though many people are like, it's not genocide, and Holocaust is not a Holocaust. Well, so even that is open to interpretation in many eyes, even though we're looking at videos being presented where children are bleeding and and yet there's denial. So I think we ought to clarify what prayer is for many of you. And what my intention tonight is to cover all the children in this circle tonight with blessings and protection. So I'm going to ask each of you who are listening tonight to put in the comments, if you want, the names of the children in your life that you want to see and feel and know that they're protected tonight from the energy that Dr. Guadalupe and I are going to bring to these names and these children. I personally believe prayer is just communication with the cosmos energy of love and the universe, the creator, and all the elements that made me who I am, that put me together. I am now carrying little antennas to those forces and that energy. And my prayer is the intention that I hold, the love, the love that I hold, and the energy that I hold to communicate with these forces around me. And that's what some people would say, well, they're praying to God. Well, what is God? We could define that tonight as well, because we want to be very clear about the children, the names that we're going to call out tonight that are going to be protected from this evil energy, these spiritual forces of darkness that are everywhere, and they seem to be rising, but they've always been there. But we're going to bring intention to protect specifically the names of those that are brought to our attention. So what would you say is your definition of prayer? Especially as you were taught as a child, were you ever taught specifically prayer is this, or did you just come into it? How did you come to understand what prayer is, and what do you feel it is today?
I came to learn about prayer by learning different religions and having a testimony with finding the results of what happens with prayer after you pray. So that has been an evolution. Prayer has been an evolution for me.
So coming as a child, you didn't were you lay me down this now and lay me down to sleep?
Yeah, now I lay me down to sleep. Yep.
That probably was most of our first introduction to prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep. Pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should
But it
die,
wasn't. But learning to say that, it wasn't said, oh, we're going to say a prayer now. It was just something that we just recited. Even the Hail Mary and the Our Father. It was just something that was said. It wasn't said, well, the reason why you're saying this is because this. It wasn't. You just did it, and that was it. There was no definition behind it. It's just something is wrote, and that's it. You know?
Well, and that's been the problem with European religion forced upon us as natives, whether African or Turtle Island natives, is that we were given these rules and restrictions and routines with no explanation. Just do it because you love Jesus or whatever. But we weren't really having a deeper understanding. Let's just say we've never had a deep understanding of what prayer is, other than now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. That is like in us, because that was
exactly.
My grandfather was a pastor of a Church of God in Christ. So from the time I was a baby, I was hearing his preaching. And I love my grandparents. They were really sweet and loving grandparents. And I heard religion, but there was very little teachings about understanding. Why am I doing this? What am I doing this for? And then we grow intuitively to know that what we're doing is right. And then some prayers you see answered right away. And then some prayers, please don't take my aunt, my uncle, and then they die anyway. So what is prayer? It's like, well, it's just putting your intention out there, your message, your communication. Hey, this is what I'd like to see. So what exactly is Hail Mary? You what I don't know. Is that
It's Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed the fruit of thy womb, Jesus Christ. Pray for us sinners now at the hour of our death. Amen. And that's something that's in our little prayer book.
Sounds pretty religious, but yeah, and like your granddaughter said, well, it didn't work for me this time.
Well, she has two prayers. She has a Hindu prayer and she has Hail Mary. So she has two prayers. Now, if she's learned any more, I don't know. I don't know. So
what's the Hindu prayer?
It's a long one. It's a protection prayer.
Okay. Do you want to share it?
Oh, let me think. Which one? Om Gam Ganapati. No. Om Shim Klim Ganeshwaraya Brahmara Charave Sarvasiddhi Pradashaya Vigneshaya Namo Namaha. That's the Hindu. That's the one she knows. That's a protection. So because we used to go over that over and over and over and over, and so she knows those are the two she knows.
And what's the translation?
Oh my goodness, I don't know. I can't translate it right now. I forgot what it is. Om Shim Klim Ganeshwaraya Brahmara Charave. I forgot. Yeah,
that's okay. That's okay, because even now I lay me down to sleep and pray to the Lord Messiah. What does that mean? I think what we're doing tonight even is translating the prayers and the teachings that we learned but had no understanding about.
Well, what I've learned recently through sound healing is that our vocal cords are vibrating. So whatever we're saying, we're vibrating at a specific frequency, and that's sending the message out to the universe. So whatever you're reciting again and again, and flowers, that's your vibration from your vocal cords. Your vibration, it's a frequency that's being sent out from your vocal cords to the universe. So it really doesn't matter which one you're saying, it's you're saying it.
So Brother Kwame says, Brother Kwame, thank you for joining us tonight. Yeah, we don't have Blog Talk tonight. We can't depend on anything these days. Everything is really weird. And energy is like really erratic and all that. But Brother Kwame says, Isaiah 65:14-24, before they call out, I will answer. While they are still speaking, I will hear. Wow, that is such a truth. Why is that so? Do you think about that? Can you answer that, why that is so true, rings true? Before they call out, they meaning the people, I will answer. While they are still speaking, I will hear. Who is they? Who is I and they and all them? It's like everybody, not everybody.
Nothing is new under the sun. That means before you've said anything, it's already been recorded. It's already known.
All right. And because God is not a he, God is not gender, but God is energy. The energy, if we think about our heartbeat energy, the pumping out of electromagnetic frequencies coming from the vibration coming from our heart, the Creator already knows what we're thinking. So you don't even have to say words in my mind. I don't even have to say a word to know that the energy of love and the Creator's the angels, messengers, nature is already feeling my vibration, that of intent or of need. I need to have peace about my grandchildren. I need to know that they're going to be okay. Wherever they are, no matter where they are. That's a prayer for
Right.
me,
That's true.
because I, as a servant of the Creator, the Most High, I know that there's a communication, there's an intimacy, there's a connection with me and the Creator. So even if I'm thinking it, it's being felt, it's being, while they're still speaking, I will hear, because before I even speak, there's an acknowledge, there's a knowing. One of our hosts was talking about the knowing versus the doing and being and all that, these levels of knowing versus, dimensions of a way. But there's a knowing of the Creator that will vibrate with my knowing even without speaking. So when we say we want to pray for all of the children tonight, it's already known. It's already known.
Exactly.
Because earlier, this is what came to me, is that we need to just put out there in the universe that we need protection over the children. And we want to do specific names if you have names. My grandchildren are Jasmine and Jonah. They are protected. They are surrounded by angels every day, wherever they go. No harm will come to them. And they are evolving and prospering in their mind, body, and soul. Prayer. That's a prayer. And I'm not I'm not at the place where I have to beg, oh God, please help my grandchildren. Oh God, that's a given for me.
Exactly.
Because some of the scriptures that we are raised in, if you choose, I set before you life and death, choose life so that you and your seeds may live. Okay, I'm choosing life every day, every hour, every minute. And so that's a given that my seed will live and the lessons are going to come. No matter what happens to them, my seed will live and they've got some lessons to learn.
Exactly.
So you were saying that, your grandson calls you every day. And what we do, what's your grandson's name?
Connor.
We just bless Connor tonight with so much wisdom, so much protection, and so much love that whenever he calls you, he's going to want to bless you, Grandma, because it'll be flowing out of him. If we just keep sending Connor energy of love, energy of the Creator's wisdom, then it's going to happen, because where two or more are gathered, you and I are gathered, and we got more in the studio who are gathered, then all we have to do is say it, and the Creator is there, here, and while they're still speaking, that the Creator hears. So Kwame was also saying Isaiah 65:14. He's quote Matthew 7 and 7 and 8. Okay, Kwame, you can read those to us if you want. Matthew 22, or if you believe, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer. Let's see.
Given.
Who is it? Oh, Mama Bandfire Kennel, I'm in. I don't know what that means. Welcome, Mama Bonfire. That's the rosary beads. Do you know about rosary beads?
Yes.
What do you know about rosary beads?
You're supposed to say the Our Fathers and the Hail Marys on, I think you say the Our Fathers on the 10 beads, and then you say the Hail Mary on the single bead, and you just go around with the rosary. And then the mala beads are just like the rosary. You just keep reciting the mala beads. The mala beads have, I think, 108 beads. I'm not sure if the rosary has 108. I'm not sure.
And they is the why. I got introduced to the rosary beads with a friend of mine who's a devout Catholic. Oh my goodness. Oh, and it was just such an educational, enlightening experience. She had bladder cancer, and she was in the hospital. They removed her bladder, She was in the hospital, and I went to visit her practically every other day because she and I had grown close, and those rosary beads were always there. I mean, serious rosary bead rolling and connection
I
because,
know.
and she was a registered nurse. She is a registered. She was a registered. She doesn't do it anymore because they took out her bladder. And those rosary beads were her connection to the energy of the Creator. Why? Because that's what the Catholic Church teaches. So that's her serious connection to what I thought was her religion, not necessarily the Creator, but the practice that many people have of being connected to a cross, rosary bead, whatever, versus the understanding of you are
Exactly.
love, you are Creator, you are part, you are the image of, and your everything inside of you is an inner cosmos that is connecting to the outer cosmos when you intentionally direct this energy there. So we're saying this tonight because the serious times that we're in, that we're wrestling not against flesh and blood, we have to, I think, take it to the next level of being really spiritually connected to that energy of power creation that is in us and resonates in us if we have the intention to change what is happening around us for good. And Kwame says, all come through us, but we all belong to the Creator. So what do you think about that statement, Dr. Guadalupe?
We're all connected. We're all, it's like the web of life. We're all connected. We're made of the Creator. We come from the Creator.
And when we sit and meditate on just that thought, the web of life, you and I are connected. You're in New York, I'm in Florida. So we're on the same timeline, but we're also energetically, heart to heart, purpose connected in so many other ways.
Exactly.
That we have so much power and influence over what is happening in our world right now.
Well, we have a lot of power. So we don't really have any time to doubt ourselves. We don't have any time to have fear. We don't have any time for that. I know I don't. You know, do I feel bad about it? No, I feel what can I do? This is the situation. How can I solve the problem? That's it, and keep it moving. You know, people say, oh, do you feel bad about this? No, I don't feel bad about this. No, I figure out what's the solution. What's the solution? That's it. And sometimes, like I talk to my patients, I tell my patients, you don't have to tell me. You have to work through this. It's up to you. This is your path. You have to work through this. You could tell me if you want to, but this is what you need to come to terms with.
And that fear element is huge for so many people. I don't think some people realize there's nothing to fear but fear itself, as one of our presidents said.
Exactly.
It's so true. We've got to come out of the fear.
Well, to recognize it. To recognize that you're afraid of ... You know, whatever it is you're afraid of. Because I always talk to my family members about this. I said, well, you're afraid. What are you afraid of? You know, they look at me, well, aren't you afraid? I said, no, I'm not afraid. I look at something and I can't tell you how many times in my life I have walked through fires. And afterwards, I'm like, wait a minute, did I just do that? So no.
And there's a basic fear that I observe around certain people in my life. My grandchildren are always told by some individual, you got to make sure you wash your hands. Make sure you wash your hands. I'm not hearing this. And then when I heard it the first time, I was like, okay, yeah, we should. But when I kept hearing it over and over again in a way that if you don't wash your hands, something's going to happen. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to understand the fear element there. The fear element. And I'm going to ask this person, well, what happens if he doesn't wash his hands? What's going to happen? You know what people are thinking after the last 4 years of fear mongering?
Yeah.
That you could die of a germ. The germ theory comes in. This is what I'm observing, especially and we as holistic professionals, practitioners. Do you see from COVID that people are still in that fear about germs even?
Well, they don't realize that it's really control. The fear, that's masking the control. That's what it is. They're using that as oh, you'll get sick and die, you'll get you'll go to the hospital and you'll never come out. But that's masking control over the person. They don't see that. There's a lot of distraction going on.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, there's a lot of distraction. That's one of them. Because I was talking to somebody about the vaccine, and I know a lot of people don't think about this, but if you think about the circle and the receptors that are on top of the little cell, right? Once the virus goes into the cell, it reprograms the human cell for something. And I keep asking everyone, the people who had the mRNA vaccine, what have they been reprogrammed for? The DNA has been reprogrammed, because when those proteins start reproducing, like in a little assembly line, they're coming out at the end with an end product. What is the end product? We won't know that until a couple of years from now. There's an end product.
I was in a comment thread today on Facebook where someone posted that canola oil was called the rapeseed and we shouldn't be taking it. They were saying how canola oil is not an oil that we should be putting in our body. Well, here comes a comment that says that's not true. Canola oil, the FDA has given it a good thumbs up, and this and this, and it's healthy for you. And I was like, oh wow, where'd they get that from? And so the comment I gave was that all seed oils are not healthy for you. That was my comment. So that I asked him the question, how is canola oil, how is the rapeseed processed into canola oil? It's a processed food, so it becomes, and they call it rapeseed for a reason, and it's used industrially and all that. So anyway, I went to this person's page who was bringing us this lecture on how good canola oil was. And so I decided, let me check out their page and see what else they talk about that's not true. This person was proudly proclaiming they got the jab and they're great. And I said, oh, okay. And so that explains it. So I went back to the comment and said, oh, I see that you have gotten the COVID jab. And so I said, I'm just going to say shalom, peace. Because at some point, I don't even get into debates anymore about when I see that they've made that choice. And then he comes back with comments about how the jab is saving people. Like, oh,
I know.
So the deceit was coming out from about the canola oil, which I'm thoroughly familiar with this is my 11th year in Blog Talk Radio on this channel, Soul Purpose Healing. So 8 years ago, I found a video I did, or a show that I did on the microbiome and yoga. So when this guy brought up this comment, I was like, oh my goodness, for 8 years, I've been talking about the microbiome and yoga. And here he is talking about canola oil is good for us and the jab is good for us. So when we have people who want to debate certain topics, don't get into a debate if you are sure about your relationship with yourself inside the inner cosmos and the outer cosmos.
Exactly.
This is my conclusion to this day as all these things came to my reminder. When you have been studying information and universal knowledge, as I have 11 years now, I'm thinking there's a reason for that number 11, that this is the year to stop debating, stop debating with people about the inner truth, the inner cosmos truth, with the outer cosmos truth, which I bring together in my yoga practice. So this is the joy I felt after I said to this guy, Shalom. And then you get in debates with people on Facebook, and the same thing. It's like you realize, okay, I've been in this journey for a long time, 35 years really, in holistic health. And it's like some things I don't have to debate about anymore. It's like that you are on a journey that you have to learn some more things about the inner cosmos, your organs, your blood, your circulation. As you have studied even Chinese medicine, the energy, how about just the energy of it all? And then the outer cosmos, bringing it all together. And our grandchildren, bringing it back to the grandchildren. They're just starting. But do you ever feel like some of your adult patients are at the same level of your grandchildren?
Yes.
And then what kind of conversation do you have with people who are at the level of elementary school, whether it's religion or otherwise, that your grandchildren are
at? There's no way of convincing them. There's absolutely no, you can come at them at different angles, and they're set. That's it. They're set, and you cannot change their mind. And it's not even, well, maybe I'll think about it. And it's not even that. They're not open. They're just closed.
And so our yoga practice, I don't know, do you do any meditation? Yeah, I'm sure you do meditation. What is your meditation practice like for you personally?
My goodness, my meditation is, I'm usually transported when I practice my meditation, close my eyes, lay down, relax. I'm usually transported really to another dimension. Okay. Or a word or something comes to me. And it's something I'm not even thinking about. It's just a message comes to me. So that's what happens to me when I do meditation.
Quiet time, right?
Yeah.
And so
I connect with another, it's really another dimension. And then sometimes people, entities of higher frequencies enter.
Have you ever, do you have any clients who ever come to you with tinnitus or tinnitus, ringing in the ears?
I had one person that made an appointment, but he didn't follow through.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that, I think with, I forget what it is. One ear is your spirit guide talking to you, and the other one, each level means something in each ear spiritually. In Chinese medicine, if it's a high pitch, it means that you're under emotional stress. If it's a low pitch, it means your kidney meridian, which is your life essence, is being depleted. So it really, if a person comes to me, which I haven't had a person to explain to me tinnitus, I would have to gauge which level am I going to talk to them about. Is it spiritual, or is it layman, or Chinese medicine?
So
it could be medication.
Yeah. And there's so many ads that come out on Facebook about this, and especially in the last 2 or 3 years, I've seen more ads about you can heal your tinnitus or your tinnitus. I call it tinnitus, but I've had it for probably 3 or 4 years. And when you first experience this ringing, it's kind of fear related because you don't understand what's going on and you think maybe you're losing your hearing, or and so you go through these stages. And I'm saying, and I'm sharing this so that other people um, can feel at ease or more peace about it. You go through these stages of trying to improve your diet, improve your life, improve some things, and then you get a hearing test. Because that's, I say a free hearing test. Oh, let me run in there and let me say, hey, what's going on here? Well, there's nothing wrong with your hearing. We can't find anything wrong with your hearing. And that's what most people say I've done a show on this topic, and 2 or 3 of the brothers come in and say, well, that's just you're hearing from higher beings, and it's a spiritual message, and they just confirm, don't be afraid, don't worry, it's just you're recalibrating, to
Right.
speak. But the fear is there. Talking about fear of, like, these people on these ads will say, well, it's your brain, it's a problem with your brain, and you better get it fixed, and here's the product that's going to fix it. So I did try one of the products and it didn't fix anything. But then
Well, if you think about it, your central nervous system is in your head, and all of your senses are in your head. So everything that you're absorbing from the world, it's all in your head. It's all up here. Your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth, everything. So you're interpreting, and the brain is getting the message and it's interpreting it. And the ears, you're hearing it. And your ears are interpreting. That's, to me, that's what it is. You're absorbing from the outer world into your inner world.
And so it's a little complex, you're saying, or is it simple when you realize the cosmo inner and outer connections? That's what I'm starting to realize, is that all around us with the Wi-Fi and all these frequencies everywhere, and chemtrails, all these pollutions,
Yes,
energetic communication going on. I'm surprised everybody doesn't have this ringing. But when you are dealing with it every day, and you don't hear it during the day, I don't hear it at all. It doesn't bother me, or I'm not aware of it during the day. But once I lay down at night, I'm like, calm down, slow down, volume down, and it goes down. So that's when I realized that it's definitely well, for me, it's not a physical problem.
exactly.
It's more a sign of what I'm empathically picking up.
Exactly.
Me.
Exactly.
So 2 examples of the fear that we experience: washing the hands. Okay, you're going to have germs. Wash your hands. You got to wash your hands. People are afraid that if you don't wash your hands, that the germs that are there, I don't know, might kill you or make you sick. That's the thinking I think a lot of people go through. And so there, you got to wash your hands, you got to wash your hands. And then the hand sanitizers, we got in the last 4 years, people got all sanitized up every time something happens. And then we're not realizing this ecosystem that we are in, germs everywhere. You're breathing them. They're on your skin. They're everywhere. You can't get rid of them. So what do you do? Whose phone is that?
I'll call him later.
Okay. So we're at a place, grandmas, grandmothers. Okay, I'm hearing a ring. Now we're hearing an echo. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Your volume went down all of a sudden.
That's because my grandson just tried to call me. Let me see.
Okay.
Delete him out here.
Maybe we could bring him on. Tell
Oh
him
my goodness, he'll talk. Can you hear me now?
you're lower for some. Either you're lower or
Okay. I don't know. Let me see.
yeah, your volume went down.
Yeah, that's because he called me. That's because he called me.
Yeah, I'm adjusting my
Let me see. More.
I'm adjusting my volume,
Okay. Comment.
but then there's an echo.
Yeah, that's because he. That's because he called me. Yeah. Yeah, I can't.
So you're on your phone?
Yeah, I'm on my phone. I couldn't get my tablet. My tablet wouldn't work the other day when I tried the first time.
So we're asking those of you who are listening if you want us to um, say a prayer for the children in your life to give us their names. Otherwise, we're just going to say a prayer for all of you in the audience and the children in your life. We got some more comments here from Kwame, I think. Let's see. Kwame says, unlearn the false teachings. And he says, fear Mother Earth is dirt. Okay. Fear Mother Earth is dirt. So there's no need to fear, is what he's saying, I think. And thank us. Have a good night. So Kwame has dropped out. I imagine that's what that's for. And then Zelda, our Monday morning host, is giving us a YouTube link. I don't know what that's for. What's that link, Zelda? What's the YouTube link? And then tomorrow, I guess, is your child having gender confusion? Tune in Monday morning. Mindfulness tomorrow morning. Zelda will be discussing gender confusion. That's a whole nother topic. Dr. Guadalupe, have you dealt with any of the gender confusion issues?
With other people, yes.
Yeah, what's that conversation been like?
I think if I was maybe 20 years old, I think I would deal with it better. But now I don't think I have patience for it. I don't have patience I just don't have patience. Like to, flower, oh, we love you. We love you in spite of, I just don't have patience. You know, I mean, I remember when I was 18 and I went to college and I did meet a person. He was a guy and he was gay. My kids tell me I get the words twisted, but anyway. And I remember he was the first person that I met was gay, and I was like, "Oh, that's fine, no problem." La 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 la. He was my friend. We always went. Well, we always went out in gangs together, all of us. With
Groups.
many different. Yeah. So now I'm finding I'm not interested. I'm not interested in trying to understand and all that. I'm just not, I don't have patience. I just don't. When you see a guy walking out with a dress on, I just don't have patience. I think I told you about when I saw I think it's a transgender person and they physically turned and I knew they wanted to fight me. I don't know this person from a hole in the wall. And he turned his whole body to me and I'm thinking, you want to fight me? And yeah, I don't think I have patience for it. That's my take on it.
So my grandchildren are very educated on so many things that sometimes I'm a little surprised at how much they know.
Wow.
But and I wonder how many other grandchildren are like this, especially if you were in a divorce situation, because they're getting educated from their mother, who is actually bilingual. She's Spanish. She's Colombian. She's from Colombia. And then they come to their dad's house where I live in the backyard, and they're getting education on a different level. So my son is very open-minded about not hiding things from them.
Okay.
So we're watching this show about two men who wanted to get married, and the two men were kissing. in the show, and I said, I looked at my grandchildren, and they're like, nah, nothing, no biggie. And in the past, I would wanted to have shielded them from that, but then you wonder, well, what is that going to do? Shielding them versus exposing them. We don't know, really. We hope that this will eliminate judgment from them and prejudice and help them be more accepting in the areas where they have no control over. So on the one hand, it's a good thing. And yet, like you, it's like sometimes we just don't want to have the patience to even interact with people like that. But my thought is that when I see people who are confused about their gender, I say a silent prayer for them now. Because like you, it's like I was in a lot of judgment up until now. And I realize there's just too much of it going on that it's kind of weird that it's so much and so serious, so much impact, so strong. It's so strong lately. And so I think that's where we can just say a prayer for people who we recognize are out of balance. In your profession, isn't that the analysis you give when people come in, they're out of balance?
Yes.
So what does using needles do to the energetic imbalance of people that come in as patients?
Well, the needles really connect with the nervous system when they're inserting the needles into the body. And so it's really releasing the endorphins, the dopamine, the serotonins in the body. That's what it's doing. And then there are some other techniques that I put, like water under the bed, under the table, to draw down the negative energy from their feet, and it goes into the salt water. Before they come in, I cleanse the room so there isn't any negative energy lingering around. So there's a lot of preparation that goes on before and after, and then during the session.
So I think together we can have an intention tonight to use our love energy to change what needs to be changed. And that to me means, first of all, no judgment. People, because when I see people who are man dressed in a skirt or flaming gay people, I realize there's a history there, that their childhood was damaged. As one of the presidential candidates, Vivek Ramaswamy, he was saying a lot about how the gender confusion is a mental illness, and I think there's a truth to that. But how did that mental illness occur?
Exactly.
When we have children who are abused in their infancy, in their young life, the brain gets rewired.
That's true.
And so what we see these adults doing today, rewired brain, they're not behaving in the traditional behavior that we want to say is normal. I saw a girl on Facebook get her long locks dyed pink. It was so beautiful. I was like, because I really would like to have pink hair at this stage in my life. But she actually showed the process of bleaching all her locks. This hairdresser was pretty artistic and creative. Bleached all her locks, and she had long locks too. And then put this dye on and rinsed it, and then styled it. She had her. It was beautiful. It was such a work of art. And so what we can do, all of us, is see the creativity in human beings to dress the way they want, to behave the way they want. There's a creative energy there that, like you notice, out of balance sometimes, but it's a creative energy. And if it's coming from a brain that's been rewired from childhood abuses, what are we to do? all we can do is send love and a silent prayer that they get back into balance somehow and love themselves. Because don't you see a lot of it is a lack of self-love?
Well, I had a professor who adopted 2 little boys, and she thought it was cute to put them in dresses. I'm at 3 years old. He doesn't, he's 3 years old. So now he's in a home that's going to encourage him because of the adults around him, because that's what they believe. Yeah.
And so that on some level, that's abuse by the parent. I don't think that's any different than a parent who spanks a child unnecessarily all their young life.
Exactly.
Uses a switch, who uses a ironing cord. I've heard it all on children, so that their brain gets rewired. They're not being nurtured. They're not being loved in the traditional way. And so their behavior to us is strange.
True.
Which in a way is natural when you look at the foundation that was laid for them.
Exactly.
We have so much more sympathy for people who don't fit into the narrative of normal.
Exactly.
And so I want us to take maybe a moment of silence where we just send out a lot of healing love to not only the people here tonight with us, but anyone in your life who you would like to see made whole or would like to see healed and prospering in mind, body, and soul, so that they're evolving out of religion and into more spirituality, where they are looking at fourth dimension, unseen, and making a commitment or an intention to just be love. So I don't know if you want to say a prayer first, and we can go into a silent. I'm going to put on a little music. I hope this music. Okay. But would you like to say a prayer first?
No, that's good. I'm good.
Okay. So I'm going to play some healing music, and we want everybody to just close their eyes and sending out an intention for all the children in our lives, that they be made whole, that they be protected from the evil energies out there that would want to harm them. And that these children in our lives, we have Marie as Mama Bonfire's granddaughter. We want to send love to Marie and protection for Marie, that she would be made whole, to live a life of love, truth, and prosperity and joy. Joy, yes, joy. Joy is the word. We want to send out the spirit of joy right now to all the children in our lives, all of the people and the parents especially, a spirit of discipline, a spirit of forgiveness for themselves. If they're carrying unforgiveness, we send out a spirit of forgiveness over all these children, that they would fly. First, love yourself and let go of all the negative energy from their past, and live in the present moment with joy and love and forgiveness and gratitude over all the children in our lives, that they would live with gratitude. And so it is. And we give thanks for each and every one of you as we begin another journey, another day, another journey to love more, forgive more, and stay in gratitude. Well, how are you feeling, Dr. Guadalupe?
Good.
Do you have any final word, prayer, any thoughts about creating the village? What would be your summary of how we're going to create this village on a daily basis, connecting all of us who are conscious?
Working with one person at a time, because then it ripples out to others.
And so tomorrow, when that person shows up who irritates us, we take a deep breath and we remember this moment that we are committing to send love to everyone we meet, one person at a time, to send love. Taking deep breaths whenever we're triggered, taking a deep breath, and especially with our children in our lives who trigger us to be impatient, and yet we know they need patience.
Yeah.
So we have, okay, Dina joined us tonight. Dina, what's that? Dina Murat. She says, gender confusions, a failure of DEI. And DEI, I understand to be diverse,
Equity, inclusion.
Diverse, equity, inclusion.
Confusion, a failure of.
And she says Department of Education. Yep. We had Vivek Ramaswamy in his campaign to be president. He kept saying we need to eliminate the Department of Education totally.
I know. Yeah.
And I kind of agree with him. It needs to go back into the home. But then if you have broken homes, that's a problem too. But I think it should at least be only in the state, on a state level, not get the federal government out of the education of our children. And let the states have more say about versus the federal government. So that's something to think about in your own community. Maybe your Department of Education is working well, but in most areas, the federal government needs to get out of our business. And then, of course, Mama Bonfire, Marie, my girl, we send love and energy and wisdom to Marie and to you, Mama Bonfire, as well. So we are so grateful that for all of you who joined us tonight. May you share this this show tonight if you've been confused or wondering what do we do to raise this village and create a new village to raise conscious children. It starts with us, right?
Yes.
It starts with us to spend more time meditating in nature, especially in nature, and realize that the union between your inner cosmos and the outer cosmos. Some people call it yoga, but really it's really more meditation and prayer. Prayer is a union between an awareness of who you are inside and an awareness of how the outer cosmos is your mirror. So communicate with
Whole society.
We need ideas of social responsibility, like in Japan, when whole society looks after children when they are traveling alone. It starts with us. Yes, and unfortunately, in the United States, the whole society is kind of insane right now. So, like Dr. Guadalupe says, one-on-one. Let's look one-on-one for help and bring in those people around you who are conscious and who can share their wisdom and experience in a way that will help and not harm our children. So we have to keep our antennas up for those type of people wherever they are.
That's true.
And you used to think they were in the church, right? When I think about what's going on in the church, the TD Jakes for one falling and
Yeah.
coming out. Oh my goodness. That is no more. No more. We are the church here. Here we are. Dr. Guadalupe, Dr. V. We're the church now. Forget about that
That's true.
corner with the cross on top. Don't look to that for your salvation. Salvation right inside. Inner cosmos, outer cosmos coming together, communicating to each other in love and to your creator in love. And Dina says, thank you for the show, Dr. V and Dr. Guadalupe, for raising important topic. And we thank us. We thank us, Dina, and all of those who shared tonight.
Definitely. Thank you.
Much love to you, Dr. Guadalupe. We'll have to do
love you too.
in the future. And we don't really have any music to play. We're just going to say shalom, namaste, sat nam, and see you later. See you tomorrow. And aloha to all my friends in Hawaii.
Okay. Good night. Take care.
You too. Everybody have a beautiful evening, and we'll see you tomorrow on Monday Morning Mindfulness. Shalom.